You have people out here who say that they need to recast the role of T'Challa. Well, I have something that I want you to think about. The same people who made the Black Panther movie in 2018 are going to be making your Black Panther Wakanda forever. And if you cast a black man in the role, he is going to be just as marginalized and emasculated as he was in the original Black Panther. So instead of you getting a Black Panther movie where I can be a strong alpha male, you're going to get a movie that is going to be featuring a big pussy, and all he's going to do is get screwed on screen, and the image of black men and black masculinity is going to be made to look worse than it did before. And this is why I say, you should not have made this movie! You should not have made it! You should not have made it!
Now available on Kickstarter, John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this all-new Kickstarter-exclusive John Haynes comic book. Put in your pledge and get the standard, variant, or retro covers of John Haynes at Death's Door and other great stretch goal rewards on Kickstarter today. Many black comic fans, black sci-fi fans, and black fantasy fans have been calling for Marvel Studios to recast the role of T'Challa in its Black Panther superhero movie franchise. And many have gone on to create a petition online so that Marvel Studios can see how many people want the role of T'Challa recast for the Black Panther movie franchise. Now, sadly, the actor who played T'Challa and Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, wound up passing away from colon cancer in 2020. And after the passing of Chadwick Boseman, many didn't want to see another actor in the role because they considered it to be Chadwick Boseman's signature role and considered to be the performance that practically defined his career. And because many want to preserve the role of Black Panther as Chadwick Boseman's signature role, they don't want to see Black Panther played by another actor. However, there is a growing contingent of black comic fans, black sci-fi fans, and black fantasy fans who want to see the role of T'Challa recast, and they believe that no one actor should be able to define a character like the Black Panther. Now, some who want to see another actor in the role of Black Panther, they go to the argument as related to the passing of the late Heath Ledger. Now, Heath Ledger played the Joker in Christopher Nolan and David Goyer's The Dark Knight, and that role became Heath Ledger's signature role before he wound up passing away a year later. And after Heath Ledger passed away and received an Oscar posthumously for his portrayal of the Joker, we have seen other actors go on to play the role of the Joker, such as Joaquin Phoenix, who won an Oscar for playing the character in the movie Joker, and we also saw another portrayal by Jared Leto in the Suicide Squad movies. And because people saw your Jared Leto and your Joaquin Phoenix go on to play the role of the Joker, many believe that your somebody else could go out here and play the role of the Black Panther. Now, as I see it personally, I believe that your Black Panther franchise should have been retired with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. And the reason why I believe that should have been done is, one, because this was Chadwick Boseman's signature role, and two, I believe that there isn't much else story as rated to be told with the Black Panther as related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is in a state of decline. And it's that state of decline that has me really worried if they were to recast the role of Black Panther, that it would not present a positive image as related to black men. Because when it came down to the first Black Panther movie, the Black Panther was basically minimized and marginalized in his own movie, as Marvel Studios went out of its way to go out here and try to use world building as the foundation for their movie, and they made most of the female characters the primary focus of the film. And I fear that even if they went out of their way to recast the role of T'Challa and the Black Panther, we would not get a strong image of a masculine black man being an alpha male hero if they were to go out here and recast the role of the Black Panther. Because what it looks like to me with Ryan Coogler's vision of the films is that he's taking a gynocentric perspective as related to the story, and he's not really putting a focus on making T'Challa the center of his own story, the same way that Marvel Studios directors like Jon Favreau made Tony Stark the center of the Iron Man movies, or your Russo brothers made Steve Rogers the center of the second and third Captain America movies, or other directors made other characters like Thor and the Avengers the main focus of the movie. No, even if you were to go out here and cast another actor in the role of T'Challa and the Black Panther, I don't really see that the T'Challa character getting a character transformation arc, and I don't see the T'Challa character being developed into a rich multidimensional character under Ryan Coogler's vision. No, under Ryan Coogler's vision, I see him going out of his way to try to make the female characters like the Queen and Shuri and the Dora Milaje and Nakia the main focus of the movie, and that's not really a Black Panther movie I think most black men would want to see, because many black men like myself, we weren't happy with the first Black Panther, and we weren't happy because the black men in the film were basically marginalized, as they put a heavy focus on the women, and we really didn't get to see T'Challa being the king. We really didn't get to see T'Challa being the head, and we really didn't get to see T'Challa getting a victory the way Tony Stark did in Gomera, or Captain America did when he liberated Bucky and all of those POWs in Captain America: The First Avenger. So when I look at the Black Panther movie from the previous first movie, I don't think another actor would be able to be given a well-developed character that would have a full character transformation arc. And I feel like an actor would basically just be there to be in a place setting, just to be there for the sake of being there, and he wouldn't get any sort of story overall, because what Marvel Studios is looking like it's doing with the Black Panther is basically making him somebody in the background of his own movie. So Black Panther Wakanda Fail Ever would still be a fail ever, because there would be no Black Panther going out of his way to show us that he's the brilliant engineer, the brilliant strategist, or the accomplished fighter. We wouldn't get to see any of this, because they would basically make most of the movie all about the women, and it would all also be about mostly Namor, and it would be all about trying to show Namor as the superior hero while your Black Panther is sitting in the background, and that wouldn't be a good movie overall. So when I look at the whole situation as related to recasting T'Challa, it would be just as bad a situation as we had in the first Black Panther movie in terms of story, and we would get the same marginalization of a black man in a lead role, and instead of him being the lead of his movie, we would get more of your T'Challa in the background of his own movie, and he would probably be even pushed further in the background of his own movie. And what we would see in this movie would be akin to what we saw with what happened once Michael Keaton left the role of Batman and your Val Kilmer took over the role, because once your Michael Keaton left the role of Batman after Batman Returns and Val Kilmer took over the role of Batman for Batman Forever, what we got was a completely different Kit Batman, and we got a completely different vision under Joel Schumacher, which basically made a mockery of the Batman character and started the complete decline of the Batman franchise. As I see it, the whole Black Panther franchise was in a lose-lose situation, and it probably would have been in a lose-lose situation even if Chadwick Boseman had remained alive, because Marvel Studios never really had an intention on making the Black Panther a core part of their Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though Black Panther was the highest grossing film in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. No, Marvel Studios didn't even care about the money being made by Black Panther, because they wanted to keep the ideals of white supremacy in their Marvel Cinematic Universe, and preserving those ideals was more important to them than going out here and trying to build an audience with the growing black comic fans, black sci-fi fans, and black fantasy fans who have shown that they are a viable market and have proven that they will go out to go see another movie. No, they don't want the black dollar as related to a black superhero franchise or a black fantasy franchise or a black sci-fi franchise. No, the white supremacists in Hollywood, what they want to do is preserve their ideals of white supremacy, and in their ideals, only white people can go out here and be the heroes in genres like fantasy and science fiction. So they only want to see whites in those roles, and they don't want black people to be in those roles because, one, they don't want white children looking up to admire a black man as a hero, and two, they don't want black people going out here and looking up to themselves. So your white supremacists, they only want to see a white person in a fantasy or science fiction role. So that's why I believe the whole recast T'Challa argument falls completely apart, because the whole plan behind Wakanda Fail Ever is to go out here and sabotage the burgeoning black comic, black fantasy, and black science fiction market, so that black children won't go out here and imagine themselves in a world where they can be whatever they want to be. So what they want you to do is go out here and think that, oh, we can recast T'Challa and things would be different. But no, things would not be different, because the same white supremacist institutions are still controlling Hollywood, and those white supremacists only want to have your black people going out here and spending their money with them as related to looking to their white characters, and they want black people looking up to those white characters. So recasting T'Challa would not change anything as related to Hollywood's perception of black heroes, and they don't really want to see black heroes rise to prominence, because if a black hero becomes as popular as a white hero, then they can't be the heroes in the fantasies that they imagine. What's happening with your Black Panther is the same thing that happened with Static Shock back from 2001 to 2004, when Static Shock went on to become the #1 cartoon in all of America. And once Static Shock became #1, that's when your Warner Brothers didn't go out here and want to merchandise it. They didn't want to go out here and make it as popular mainstream, again, because they don't want white children looking up to black people, and they don't want white children looking up and admiring black people and aspiring to be like black people. No, white supremacy wants to see the black man at the bottom, and that's why they don't go out of their way to elevate heroes like the Black Panther, and that's why they don't want to recast T'Challa. And even if they did recast T'Challa, the story would be written in such a way that we wouldn't see a black man on screen. No, we would see an emasculated, neutered black male on screen, and every time he would try to be a hero, one of these women, like the Dora Milaje, Shuri, or the Queen, would get in his way, and they would neuter him and prevent him from being the man he needed to be on screen. So a lot of people think, oh, recast T'Challa will change things, but no, it's not going to change anything, because what's going to happen is that your T'Challa won't be allowed an opportunity to be the man that Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, or Thor were allowed in the Infinity Saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. No, he will be an emasculated, neutered man with no backbone and no balls, and he will be the one being run by Wakanda instead of being the ruler who runs Wakanda. So many people want to sit here and talk about, oh, we'll recast T'Challa and it would change the story. No, it's not going to change the story, because, again, a white supremacist institution is not interested in elevating a black man to the same level as a white man, and a white supremacist institution isn't interested in making a hero out of a black man that whites and non-blacks can go out here and admire. So recasting T'Challa does not change Hollywood, and since Hollywood isn't interested in changing the actor won't change the story, and it won't change the gynocentric and feminist narratives that are a part of the Black Panther franchise. So that's why I believe we need to leave the role of Black Panther to the late Chadwick Boseman and let it be his signature role, because any further recastings would further degrade the character, and instead of us again seeing a masculine, strong, heterosexual black man, all we're going to get is a neutered beta male who is going to be a boy, and instead of a Black Panther, all we're going to get is a big pussy, and this big pussy is just going to get screwed on screen. And young black boys, instead of seeing an image of black manhood and black masculinity, will see a submissive beta male boy who does not know how to be a man, and that would be far more detrimental to the development of black boys growing up watching content featuring a soft, neutered kitty of a Black Panther, instead of seeing the hard, strong, masculine black man that we got a glimpse of in Captain America Civil War. And again, it is a shame that your Black Panther could only be a man in a movie with a white man's name on it, but he couldn't be a man in his own movie. And this is something that flies over the heads of many black comic fans, black sci-fi fans, and black fantasy fans, that your Black Panther couldn't be a man in his own movie, and he could not even be the center of his own movie. And again, if you recast the role, you would get the same dysfunctional narratives and the same dysfunctional story, so nothing would really change. And this is what I want people to understand. Again, recasting the role without changing the institution doesn't get you a better story. The only way to get a better story for our young boys and young brothers out here is to go out here and create our own stories, like I'm doing with the John Haynes character in books like The Temptation of John Haynes and books like the John Haynes series. The only way that young black boys will get a hero that is allowed to be the black man that he is if black writers, black artists, and black publishers go out here and create our own material. And when we create our own material, we go out here and create a world where we see ourselves as the center of the universe, and we imagine ourselves in a world where we see our value, we see our worth, and we go out here and present a standard of black manhood and black masculinity for the world to see, because you're not going to get that from a character created by two Jewish men back in the 60s who meant well, but the white supremacists who control Hollywood, they don't want you to see a black man being a man, because seeing a black man being a man makes them fear for their own genetic annihilation. And that's the reason why they don't want Black Panther to be the center of his own movie. No, they don't want to see him be the center of, as the king of Wakanda, and be in the role of a king. No, they want to see him again be the kitty or the pussy that they can go out here and screw over. And that's what they're doing in this movie, Wakanda Fail Ever, basically throwing up a middle finger at all of those black men who went out here and spent over $1 billion at the box office, and basically telling them that their money is worthless. And that should give most black men out here pause, because you were the one who went out here and made this movie the #1 movie in 2018, and in 2022 they're going out of their way to try to tell you that the black woman has more value than you. So I look at this whole black recast T'Challa narrative, and I just see it as a bad argument, because the whole thing is, you're talking about recasting a role, but the same writers, directors, and producers and studios are in charge. And those studios already showed you with the first Black Panther, they weren't interested in telling a story about a black man. No, they were looking to build a gynocentric civilization called Wakanda, and they were looking to marginalize you from minute one. Now, my new comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available on Kickstarter for another 8 days, I believe. And if you want to pick up the first John Haynes comic, you may do so by clicking the link and putting in a pledge for the Kickstarter. And if you want to follow the story of John Haynes, you can head over to Amazon.com and pick up all of the books in the John Haynes series and the stories that started it, The Temptation of John Haynes and The Man Who Rules the World, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find John Haynes stories on Smashwords, Barnes & Noble, the iBookstore, Google Play, and other online booksellers. And if you want to see me make more videos like this about comics, science fiction, and fantasy, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, The Temptation of John Haynes. Give in to temptation and pick up this action-packed African-American